I do hope you can see me today from where you are.
Ich bin ein Willi.
If I'm generally anything, I guess I'm generally miserable. This modern world of science and invention is of particular interest to women.
The people, I would say, there is no patent. This is, would you patent the sun?
I regard myself as a soldier, though a soldier of peace.
Welcome to the Biographers.
How's your week been? Pretty work-wise good and everything?
Work's been good. Working on the sword a little bit more. Went up to Otto's, I think actually right before we went and watched that baseball game. Got a bunch of stuff done there. And then these last couple days I've been making a set of dies that are like diamond shaped, so I can sort of forge in the double bevel profile of the sword, which will save me a bit of time. I just got a quench tank that is long enough for it.
Nice.
And it is huge because not only is the sword like almost 6 feet long, but it also has those little flanges that stick out on the side, which means I have to have a particularly wide tank in order to quench it. So I'm basically going to have like at least like 20-gallon quench tank, which means I'm going to have to buy 20 gallons of oil. And also, it's so tall that in order for me to be able to stick it in there, because, it's huge.
You have to get a ladder for it or whatever, like a stool?
I have to get a ladder for it, and I'm also going to have to bury it partially into the ground. So,
jeez.
That's what I'm dealing with right now. But no, I'm really pumped about the project. I'm like forcing myself to take my time with it because I have the time. A lot of the times customers have a sense of urgency as to when they want things done, and they call me a month before, and I'm like, okay, sweet, that's enough time as long as I don't do anything else. Versus the sword, I really want to I want to make it nice, like I want this $3,000 sword to end up being more of like a $6,000 sword. That way, if I have a $6,000 customer come by, they can see work that's of the same caliber, right? Like, yeah. This person trusted me to make this gigantic object that, to be frank, I have never made one this size before. So I might as well just put all the bells and whistles on it if I have the time. And it's not, I'm not hurting for money right now because I'm teaching so much, which has been great. So
nice, dude.
It's been good.
I mean, I've known you long enough now to know that if you didn't make a sword that looked like a $6,000 sword for $3,000, I'd be like, who are you and what have you done with Akiba?
Fair. I
don't think you have it in you to
I can't.
To let it go.
I can't. I was just working on a knife for another customer, and I finished sculpting the handle, and I literally was like, I was looking at it, and it was just slightly canted off in one direction in a way that no one else would know how to look to find that it was canted off in that direction. And I was like, I just spent all morning doing this. Don't do this to yourself. And then before I could say anything, I was already breaking it apart and putting a new one on, because it's just like, whatever.
I mean, hey, sometimes this is what you got to do, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, man. If someone's going to buy something handmade, then they're paying for me being overly anxious about it. So
it's like, I have a coworker who I love. He's a great dude. And one of the first things that he and I bonded on was that he loves all swords of all kinds. But if he's very specific in terms of like, he wants nerdy swords. So like anytime that he and I are on a Zoom call or something, I'll see in his background, he's got like the sword of the King of Rohan. And he's got like stuff like that, right?
Yeah, like all the Peter Lions, sort of things.
Yeah. And then when he and I first started talking, one of the things we bonded on is that he really wanted to get the axe from God of War.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And yeah, he started he was like, I want to get it really nice, so I don't want to just buy one of the cheapo ones from wherever. So he's like, I kind of want to find somebody who can actually just make it for me. And I was like, you should, but you also need to know going into it that is not going to be a cheap project.
It is not.
If you really want somebody to make it well, expect it to be in the $3,000 to $6,000 range to have it made for you.
Because most of these people, that's the thing that people don't realize with these swords. Things are like, oh, you can make a knife, therefore you can make a sword. And it's like, all of the tools required to do that are about 3 times larger than what most people have in their shops, right? My heat treating oven is 22 inches long, which is a very long oven by most standards. But that's not 70 inches. So now I'm basically the hardest challenge of this sword has been like, I have to build all of the tools required to heat treat and quench. Like I have 2 gigantic oil barrels that are like maybe 16 inches in diameter by 4 feet tall or 3 feet tall. And I'm stacking them on top of one another. And then I'm going to fill them up with insulation and buy like 6 forge burners so I can make essentially a super long vertical forge to heat treat the whole thing. Right. Yeah. So like if you want the God of War axe, that's like 10 to 15 pounds of steel conservatively.
Oh, yeah.
As starting stock, obviously tons of it is going to get ground off. And then also you need a forge that's wide enough and big enough to accommodate something that size, which is like the only one here is like Otto's, you know, right. at Innovation Forge, or maybe Hardy and Fuller's Forge could do it.
But yeah, once he started looking into it, he came back to me and was like, yeah, you were completely right. Like I looked at a couple different people and asked around and they all said that it was going to be in that kind of range. And he was like, I just don't have that money right now. So I found this other place online that seems like they make pretty good quality stuff. And I think he got it for like maybe $1,000, if not a little bit less, sort of a thing.
I just had to tell that to one of Steve's students who called me, was asking for a custom rapier, but they wanted it in a month.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like, could you do the whole thing in a month? And I was like, I don't even know if I could get the steel in 2 weeks because of current economics right now. Steel is like on hold and shipping is a pain in the ass. Like, jeez. I just had to like call directly to the steel yard in New Jersey to get this stuff for a piece of Damascus that I'm working on. Like, go buy one from a factory. Go check out Hanway, check out Tinker, check out, Albion. They make good swords. They're factories that make swords. I can't say that they're bad.
Yeah.
But if you want it custom, you have to be patient. You have to be willing to put in a little bit of money too. You know. And
correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like rapiers are also going to be one of those ones that are like, these are finicky, delicate little swords. It's not like a broadsword where you're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna grind it away. It's like rapiers, you're gonna be like on the grinder, just like making these micro adjustments to get it thin and flexible and everything,
It's also like heat treating an object that is like a needle, like how do you keep that thing straight during the whole process? And if you remember when you were grinding chef knives, when you grind one side, it starts to warp the other side as you're working. So you have to like be really careful to make those grinds even. So yeah, it's a finicky thing.
Yeah. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to The Biographers. I'm Daniel Newman, hanging out with Akiva Miola.
What's up, y'all?
And for all of our normal listeners that have just been going through podcasting...
Is it weird that I'm making eye contact with you guys now?
Exactly. For everybody that's normally listening through whatever, Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever, this is no different for you. But this is our first official episode where we are on video. So hello, everybody. You can actually see us now in all of our glory. Sure.
I don't know. Leave a comment of what you thought we were going to look like. I'm very curious. I have a feeling everybody is going to think, because I have to admit, I have a slightly nasal tone to my voice. I have to admit, I think everybody's going to think I was about half the size. Like,
no, yeah. Well, you also can't really see
I don't want to know
size.
what you thought I looked like.
No, hey, look, I think I look great, but hey, I know that people are dicks on the internet, so
but it is
we're
weird.
leaving ourselves open to it,
When I was listening to, I always talk about this guy. He analyzes rap. His name is Cole Kushner. But when he put his face for the first time on Spotify, it doesn't matter what face I was going to see. I was just like, whoa,
yeah,
hi. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not my imaginary friend that I've made up over the course of the last several years.
Yeah. And I mean, for me personally, when I got into podcasts at this point, close to 10 years ago, if not a little bit, actually way longer than that. But when I got really into them, I used to listen to like Mark Maron all the time on the way to work and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But when I really got into like kind of being addicted to podcasts and listening to them consistently, it's about 10 years ago. And I remember very specifically feeling like, well, this is really cool. You can just like record something. It's like your own radio show, and then that's all there is to it. And then since the advent of things like TikTok, really specifically TikTok, and I guess you can make the argument YouTube, it was a weird thing to be like, oh no, people actually want to watch you talk into a microphone on a video, which I find still kind of strange, but hey, to each their own. Hopefully you guys are enjoying hanging out with us.
Well, it's kind of like, you know how they say that when you're on a phone call, the reason why you walk around is because your lizard brain is trying to find the origin of the voice of the call.
Really?
I feel like being able to, yeah. I'm not sure if that's true. That could be total bullshit. But I've heard that like the reason why everybody walks around on the phone is because we're like kind of subliminally trying to find where the person that we're talking to is.
Never once thought. I mean, look, maybe there's science behind that, but like I've never been listening to an audiobook or a podcast and walking around going, where the fuck is this person?
No, I don't think it's like intentional in that way, but I just think it's like a lizard brain thing, right? I feel like having a face to, you know, put the voice onto is kind of nice. But then sometimes, like I said, if you've been listening for a long time, if it's jarring for you guys, please let us know what you thought we were going to look like. I'm very curious as to what you guys thought we were going to look like. So
I'm immediately shooting back to a comment that I've obviously never thought about since receiving it. From like 2 years ago, whatever it was, on one of the shorts that we made, and somebody just said, I love all your stupid hats.
Thanks.
which yeah, it's both a diss and a compliment. But hey, look, you know what? I like what I like, guys, and I like my hats.
You know,
so
in the range of comments that we could be getting, we still have very friendly listeners.
I agree. And I am the type of person that's like, generally speaking, when it comes to myself, I'm pretty comfortable with myself. I've sat in the front row intentionally of comedy clubs and gotten truly roasted by comics.
Yeah, because it's fun.
And it's funny. Like, come on, man, you can make fun of me. There's not a whole lot that I will get super
I think it's
offended
because
by.
I'm also kind of a judgmental prick. Like when I see a person walking across the street, I'm like, look at that fucking guy with his jacket. I want to know when I'm walking across the street what the guy with the jacket is thinking about me in return, because I know I'm thinking about him.
I mean, gosh, I'm sure I've thought about that before. I'm sure I have. I know I have, but I don't think I've ever been that intentional about it, of going, I wonder what they are over there thinking about me right now. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
We'll see if I find it amusing as we gain popularity.
You and I went to that Rockies game last weekend, right?
Yeah.
Not this past Friday, but the Friday before.
Uh-huh.
And I wore my pimp coat, what I call it, right? My long
big fur coat,
which quite literally my wife got in high school for a pimp costume. I don't know if I told you that.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That is so funny.
Yeah, she got it for a pimp costume. And then when I was at her parents' house 6, 8, 9 months ago, whatever it was, her parents are kind of in the process of moving. And so they're cleaning out some of their old stuff. And her mom and Catherine come downstairs and they go, you want this, don't you? And they hold up this coat and I was like, hell yeah, I want this. So not only do I think it's radical, but it's also super cozy and warm. And at that baseball game, there was that one point where I left you to go hang out with my buddy, you know?
Yeah.
At like the 7th inning, 6th inning, something like that. I was sitting there in the stands, and then when the game like let out, you know, in succession, like 7 people walked by and almost every single one of them went, dude, I am loving this outfit. So, hey, just saying, the pimp coat is rad, and I dress the way that I want to dress, and I think people respect it. At least I hope. But then we're going to get a slew of YouTube comments being like,
I do not respect
you look like a garbage person, which is okay. You know, you're entitled to that opinion. But yes, everybody, we are, for all of our just normal listeners, we are live on, you're not live, but I guess on YouTube now for video content. And I think there's some kind of a way that we can do it through just the normal streaming sort of part of things. Like in Spotify, you can watch video and stuff like that. We're building this plane as it's flying. You know what I mean? So we're figuring it out. This has been almost 3 years of us exclusively doing audio content. So this whole new world of video content we're having to figure out. But anyway, hopefully y'all like it. And this is actually from a piece of advice we got from the one and only Max Miller, which if everybody looks in the background of Akiva's shelves back there, there's the Tasting History Cookbook by Max Miller, who does tasting history, obviously. And we were kind of, for anybody that doesn't know, if you're newer to the show or anything like that, a month or two ago, we actually got to collaborate with Max. We did a video with him, and then we also did an interview with him that we released. And one of the questions that I had for him was just like, how did tasting history kind of take off? And he said, I don't really know. I just made content that I wanted to make, and then the algorithm took care of the rest in YouTube. And for me, it was one of those like, well, shit, I guess we got to be making video
I also think
content.
about this a lot too of there's been like a lot of discussion around what's like considered the clip economy of like taking larger format things, whether they are videos, audio, podcasts, and then turning them into shorts. And that seems to be like where everything is going.
Yeah.
Not sure if I necessarily love it because I'm not a big short form content guy just on principle. But I mean, yeah, you can't argue with it, dude. Like how often do you watch clips of a podcast that you've never actually listened to, you know?
Oh no, it's completely true. And it's funny because I think I'm with you. And then I think on principle, I'm like, I'm not a clip content person, but I am.
Doesn't mean I'm not a consumer. Yeah.
Like I am. That's the reality of it, is that, I remember I made this very conscious decision like 2 or 3 years back where I was like, I'm done with Reddit. I don't want to do it anymore. It's becoming this very toxic place where people can just be jerks constantly. Very seldom do people call each other out. There's very little moderation in anything.
A lot of snide.
Yeah, and I was like, I think I'm just kind of done with all of the negativity. So I was like, I'm done with it. And then I had a friend who kept saying, well, TikTok's pretty rad. And I was like, no. And now I'm fully hooked on TikTok. So like, I can't say that I'm not a clip content consumer. Because I 100%.
Yeah, it is funny though, because I'm like, what is it going to do to the children? And then I'll sit there completely dissociated watching AI filtered videos of movies that I haven't seen for 3 hours, and they'd be like, oh, where am I?
It's true. Or you say, like, what's it gonna do to the children? And then I'm like driving to do my trivia the other day, and there is a dude, obviously, who's got his phone set up on his fucking dashboard, and he's clearly not looking at navigation. He's clearly watching TikTok as he's driving, which to me is just one of the
We're
most
at the end stage.
insane possible things. Like I hesitate to even text message when I'm driving because I'm so like, I want to be really respectful of other drivers, because I'm very much the person.
Which reminds me.
Well,
I should say, if you are...
I'm not done.
Go ahead.
Because I'm very much the person with the text messages that's like, it's not just about me and my car getting destroyed or my body getting hurt. It's like, if I'm texting and then I slam into a car and somebody else gets hurt or worse,
yeah, man,
that would haunt me for the rest of my life. So I'm very cautious about that. But anyways, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, that reminds me, for those of you who are listening and you have the video on while you're driving, don't do that. Because I was going to say, the one time that I have been distracted with video while driving is I'll be listening to Dimension 20, the D&D podcast with Brennan Lee Mulligan. And they have video, and sometimes they show the characters as illustrations, and sometimes I want to open it up and look at it, but I'm driving, and I shouldn't. But so I don't do it.
You have done it? Well, I feel like
I've never.
Oh, okay, good. Obviously. I was like, do we need to cut this out? But no, he hasn't, everybody. He's just said it. He's never done that before.
I didn't.
He's been tempted.
I just said I was tempted.
But he's never eaten that forbidden fruit. All right, well, if anybody is brand new to office hours, and I see statistically, office hours is not getting as many bites as the rest of our episodes, understandably so, because the rest of our content is actually sort of consumable content. There's a strong narrative. We're telling the story of something.
Scripted, yeah.
Office hours is borderline an excuse for us to take a break between launching a new series.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, let's be fair. It's sort of like the vacation between the series where we're like, we can take a breath. Ooh. We can do a little bit of extra work on the series that we're working on, kind of a thing, and then kind of go from there. But we also do take the opportunity here on Office Hours to go over any questions or corrections that we have from the previous series that we've done. And for Frida, there actually are not many, but I know there's one that you want to share. But there are a couple of things that I did write down or kind of had questions about that I did find some answers to. So probably now is a good time to get into them.
Let's do it.
Unless you want to get into yours first.
No, go for it.
Whatever's fine. Okay.
No, mine's just a little anecdote.
So very, very first one is that in Frida Part 1, I made the connection between Mabel Dodge Luhan and that she was connected to Leon Trotsky through the journalist John Reed, if anybody remembers. And I incorrectly said that Trotsky was buried at the Kremlin Wall necropolis. Trotsky is actually buried in Mexico City at the Leon Trotsky Museum House.
Yep.
However, I was able to verify that John Reed was indeed friends with Leon Trotsky. And it was through
Really?
Trotsky that John Reed was introduced to Vladimir Lenin.
Wow.
So, yeah,
John Reed has got to be... Yeah, I'm very interested in John Reed.
He's got to be one of the series we do in the future. He just has to be.
Yeah.
He's one of these guys that just keeps popping up in these weird ways, and he feels like one of those really cool forgotten humans that deserves to have his story told. Especially even like for any of our newer listeners as well. The very first series that we did, and we've talked about this many times for all of our consistent listeners, was Mabel Dodge Luhan. Wild story, go listen to it. You know, we're going to be a little green around the gills because it was the first series that we ever did, so it'll be a little bit different than what you're hearing now. But Mabel was a fascinating character, knew everybody, and at one point dated this guy named John Reed. And the way that she kind of met him was that they were both living in New York at the time, and John Reed was somewhere between a bohemian poet and an actual journalist. So he kind of moved to New York with this, to my understanding, at least as of now, with this ambition of being a writer and poet for the sake of art. And then he got wrapped up into the world of politics and journalism and all this kind of stuff. So from that is how he went and checked out the Mexican Revolution. He was the main reporter for the Mexican Revolution. He knew Pancho Villa. He then actually ended up going to Russia and fighting with the Red Guard, became a hero of the communist or Russian Revolution, and he's buried again in Russia at the Kremlin Wall necropolis. So he's just this wild character, but we're drawing all these awesome dots where it's like John Reed knew... He's
a through line to a lot of characters,
He knew Trotsky. Trotsky knew Frida. Frida, obviously, Diego Rivera. And then John Reed knew Mabel Dodge Luhan. And then one of the other facts we'll get to in just a second is that there's another connection. So this whole thing is going to be a big circle. But anyway, John Reed, super cool guy, and we're definitely going to get into him at some point.
100%.
All right, next one here, and this is actually the other little through line here, was that in Frida Part 2, we talked about how Diego Rivera was personal friends with Gertrude Stein. Anybody not familiar with Gertrude Stein, go look her up. She's worth looking into. We have not done a series on her. We probably will eventually, but she was arguably the world's first influencer. Mabel Dodge Luhan wanted to be Gertrude Stein in America. Gertrude Stein was primarily based out of France, even though she was American. However, so again, we were wondering, because Gertrude ran this kind of art scene, this what they called salon back in the day of artists, and she put out people like Matisse and who else am I thinking of? Not Van Gogh. The name is escaping me right now. Another huge figure.
Well, it seems like Pablo Picasso. I'm just pulling up a wiki right now. Picasso, Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Sherwood Anderson, Ezra Pound, like a bunch of different, movers and shakers of the time.
Yeah. Either way, she was a big name, and she was sort of a high society type. Anyways, we had wondered if Diego Rivera was friends with Gertrude Stein. So I did look into it, and 100%. Diego Rivera actually spent time between, I believe it was 1907 and 1914. He spent time in Paris. When he was in Paris,
was with his previous wife, by the way.
When he was in Paris, he spent time with Gertrude Stein, with Pablo Picasso, all that kind of stuff. Which means that was right around the time that Mabel Dodge Luhan actually went to Europe and became friends with Gertrude Stein. There's this whole story in the Mabel Dodge Luhan series where Gertrude Stein actually goes to stay at what was called the Villa Corona in Florence, which is where Mabel Dodge Luhan had a house. And there's all these stories about Gertrude Stein staying at her house with Gertrude Stein's longtime partner, Alice B. Tulkas. And so it is almost undoubtedly, there was a point where Diego Rivera met Mabel Dodge Luhan. We cannot confirm this, but just knowing how close Gertrude Stein was with Mabel Dodge Luhan, I'd be shocked if they didn't cross paths being in the same area of the world. Or at least
know of one another for certain.
Yeah. And like for anybody that's curious, how close the connection was between Gertrude Stein and Mabel Dodge Luhan, I actually have a book back on my bookshelf over here that is nothing but a collection of letters, a whole bunch of different letters between Mabel Dodge Luhan and Gertrude Stein. So they were friends, rivals, and enemies all at once. It's very interesting. It's, you know, I don't even know what a good comparison would be at this point to draw. But yeah, they were all of those things kind of combined into one. So anyways,
interesting.
One more way that we're finding that Mabel Dodge Luhan, you know, we need to put out a shot and take it every single time. She's connected to everyone. It's insane.
Yeah, dude.
Which, by the way, again, for any of our newer listeners, it's weird. This person, Mabel Dodge Luhan, I had never heard of her really before. And then when I did, and then did the series on her, she will not go away. She pops up everywhere. It's the weirdest thing. It's this sort of like synchronicity.
Every series that we've done, there have been major connections. Almost every series, right?
Almost every series.
I think maybe Alex Dumas might be non-connected, but even with Tesla, they kind of walked around the same social circles, even if they didn't know one another.
Yeah. And then and there's a lot of them that are sort of like loose connections where it's like, you know, there's a point where Mark Twain was living in Buffalo. Mabel Dodge Luhan was born in Buffalo.
She is the Kevin Bacon of history, though. Like, there is at least some connection to her, probably with less than 7 degrees, honestly.
Yeah. And we even found, I mean, it's everything of being like, oh, you know, Franz Liszt was enemies with Wagner, right? Mark Twain went and saw Wagner operas, hated Wagner, was born in Buffalo. Mabel was born in Buffalo. Mabel Dodge was a high society type, so was undoubtedly going to operas when she was both in Europe and in the United States.
Yeah.
So there's all these weird, like, she was just everywhere, and it's a lot of fun. So anyways, she is the patron, I think you've said before, patron saint of the biographers. I would say so, yeah. All right. The only other one that I have, Akiva, before I will hand it over to you, this is from Frida Kahlo Part 3. So you had talked about a famous horticulturist named Luther Burbank. And I had wondered, because this was all in like California, I had wondered if he had anything to do with the city of Burbank in Southern California, because basically before Los Angeles was Los Angeles, it was primarily orange groves. That's why there's a lot of places that are just called like Orange Grove or Orange Grove Park.
The Grove.
All this kind of stuff. The Grove. So I had wondered if that was the case. And as it turns out, no. He had absolutely nothing to do with the city of Burbank. Burbank is actually named after a dentist whose name was David Burbank. And around 1867, he bought up like 9,000 acres of land in that area. And he raised like sheep. And yeah, I think he had some orchards and stuff like that, but nothing significant. But really, because he was such a huge landowner, when it actually was incorporated and kind of became a city, they were like, well, we should name it basically after the guy who owned the land for the longest period of time, David Burbank, who was a dentist. So sorry to disappoint everybody. Burbank, where Disney is based out of, Disney Studios, animation, all that kind of stuff is based out of Burbank. The name of a dentist. Named after a dentist. So
that's so funny.
I thought that was pretty good. So the only other thing that we had, and this is where, Akiva, we're gonna hand it over to you, because you had mentioned it and saying maybe we want to talk about this during office hours. So tell us all about Frida's painting for Vanity Fair's editor Claire Booth.
Yeah, so Claire Booth Luce, really interesting character. She during her life became editor of all sorts of different magazines, most notably Vanity Fair, but she was kind of in a similar way to Gertrude Stein, a center of a social circle that if you were in that social circle, good things would happen to you, right? Especially in like the Roaring 20s, sort of the height of the flapper era. That's where, you know, a lot of people started to converge around Claire Booth. One of them, most notably, was a lady named Dorothy Hale. Dorothy Hale was a actress. She was a sort of a socialite. Kind of a similar story as Mabel Dodge of like, what's her job? She wants to be famous. You know, like she didn't really know exactly where her career was going and what direction. And her and Claire Booth had a friendship for a long time. But Claire was starting to get kind of irritated by her towards the end of Dorothy Hale's life. Dorothy Hale required financial assistance more and more often because she wasn't getting these acting gigs and things were kind of turning down for her. And unfortunately, Dorothy Hale would commit suicide. She would jump off of her balcony and tragically fall to the ground. It was this huge tragedy in the social circles of Claire Booth Luce.
Was it in New York?
It was in New York.
Was she the one who jumped off the Empire State Building? No. You said in her apartment.
I want to say yes, in her apartment. Let me double check here.
Oh, that's so funny. I went onto Google, and for whatever reason, it decided that it wanted to give me her page, but in Spanish.
Oh, no, it was her apartment. Yep.
Okay. Because I know there was one story about in the I think it was the 20s or 30s, something like that, of a woman who jumped off the Empire State Building, and they have like a picture of it, and it looks like nothing. It looks like she's like asleep on a car. It's wild. Oh, yeah, I remember seeing it at one point, and it was like, oh, incredible. Geez. Anyway.
Yeah. But you know, the story was particularly tragic because Claire Booth had offered one of her dresses, which was a really expensive dress made by Madame X, and the name was Femme Fatale, which was kind of a fitting name considering what was going to happen while she was wearing it, right? And everybody had been accusing her of having more money than she actually did, and not, paying people back the way that she should have, and just continually asking for favors, and people were putting more and more pressure on her, and eventually she just couldn't take the pressure, and she decided to take her own life. It was this really tragic scenario, and the art world around it kind of was kind of like you just said with the Empire State Building suicide, was kind of baffled, but also taken aback by the situation, right? This really high society, super in vogue lady, passes away, and people see some beauty in that in sort of a tragic way, right? So Claire Booth had just met Frida. Frida had sort of gotten into the surrealist circles. This was around the time where she started working with, I want to say, Eugene Levy, who was a gallerist in New York. Not
Eugene Levy.
No.
Okay, I'm thinking of the actor.
No, I'm almost certain it was Eugene Levy. Last name was definitely Levy. But working with this gallerist in New York, who was getting her into the surrealist circles. It was right before she met Andre Breton and all of the other surrealists that would sort of kind of push her in that category.
Okay.
And Claire Booth had commissioned her. She said she wanted a painting in honor of her good friend, Dorothy Hale.
Okay.
Now, Frida specifically asked if she wanted a recuerdo, which is an idealized memorial portrait, right? That, somebody can hang over the fireplace, that type of thing. And I want you to look up this painting.
I'm looking at it.
Okay. So this painting was originally intended for the mother of Dorothy Hale.
Oh.
To be put inside of her house.
Good Lord.
And this is what Frida painted. And I'll describe it to you for those of you who aren't watching. It is a painting of a high-rise building with Dorothy falling out of it through the clouds and landing in a bloody heap on the ground.
Yeah. It's very uncomfortable and very tragic. For a gallery, I could see it as cool. As a gift to her mother, it's borderline psychotic.
I know. I don't know if it was lost in translation or Frida was just taken by the moment to make this painting. But when Claire Booth Luce saw it, she basically fell into a heap of tears and was like, "Why would you do this to me? What did I ever do to you for you to paint this?" And Frida was like, I did my best to do what I felt. I'm so sorry. There it is. And it ended up getting left behind. to Frank Crowninshield, who would end up putting it into storage, and later it was donated anonymously to the Phoenix Art Museum. But this was supposed to be a memorial painting for somebody's long lost best friend who committed suicide, and that is what Frida painted. So I thought that would be a crazy story to tell. Wasn't super relevant to the plot of Frida.
Sure.
But just a total like, oh my God, why did you just sock this poor woman in the jaw? Like, what?
It feels so on brand for Frida, though, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, of all the things that Frida would do in this situation, I genuinely have this image in my head of Frida giving it to Dorothy Hale's mother, and the mother going like, why would you do this? And Frida going like, you're not obsessed with death like I am? Like,
like
genuinely,
you don't like it?
like confused of like, what are you talking about? I think death is beautiful, and you don't think that your blood spattered daughter is like a good tribute to, like, yeah, man.
It's also very Mexican. Like, it's very Mexican Catholic. Like when they, have paintings of, the Christ or whatever on the cross, it's not just him quietly falling asleep. He is like being gorged and there's blood everywhere. And, like there's like a very, like, I also think about like A Few Small Nips, one of Frida's other paintings, of just like, we don't like beat around the bush with that type of shit. So
it's amazing. When you just said it, I was like, oh, how did I not make this connection before? It's Catholic. That is such a huge part of Frida's mythos as an artist, is the Catholic
it's specifically
imagery.
Mexican Catholic, because you have like this very honest, slightly gory art style from Aztec and like, Mexican native culture, and then Catholics do not shy away from it either. So combined, it creates this very like dark humor, dark tragedy, even sort of aesthetic around all of her paintings.
I would go even further though and say, the more that I think about it, the more that I'm like, Baroque art. That sort of medieval art that almost sometimes couldn't at the time, it was the Dark Ages, couldn't figure out perspective, but they had like actual gold gilding to represent the halo around saints and stuff like that. And they have these sort of like forlorn, depressing facial expressions,
Yes.
Like that very much reminds me of Frida, especially the one that you sent me with all the hands.
Oh, yeah, Moses.
Yeah, the one where the Moses in the basket, and then there's like a womb and a shell and a snail, and it's saying hello and whatever else is happening. Like,
yes. Oh, which reminds me, we actually have one more correction. Speaking of Moses, so we actually got a message. I can't remember from who. Maybe we'll pull it up. Got a message from one of our listeners asking if the hands for the sun were not, instead of the Aztec god, which I said in the recording, it was actually Akhenaten, or Aken, who was the sun god of Egyptian mythology, because apparently he is also depicted as a sun with multiple hands. And that is a more accurate retelling, because if we talk about in Freud's Moses, Moses in Freud's view was a priest of Akhenaten. So just that small clarification, was not an Aztec sun god. It was an Egyptian one.
Okay, so cool. Yeah, and the other one, this is not a correction. This is just a good one. So first of all, hopefully she's made it this far into the episode, but we did get, first of all, a new Patreon subscriber. Her name is Shelby. Shelby, I believe your last name is pronounced Haig, but it might be Hog. It's 2 A's. So however you pronounce your last name, my apologies. I never asked for pronunciation. One, she's become a fanatic new listener. She's been binging through series. It was like, I think it was like earlier yesterday or something like that. She sent a message or a comment on Patreon. It was like, oh, I'm on episode 7 of Mark Twain or something. And then like an hour later was like, I'm on episode 9 of Mark Twain. I'm like, I don't even know how that's possible. But yeah, she's just burning through these different episodes and has been really kind and sharing some lovely, words and stuff, and says that our show is keeping her sane at work, which is pretty
that's good.
Awesome. But one of the things that I thought was really, really funny was she was like, not necessarily a correction, just a thing for you guys to know and keep in mind.
I remember seeing this in the email.
Is that I have said often, I'm sure listeners have caught on to this or whatever, I've said often factoid. Like, oh, that's a little factoid for you. To me, I've always understood that as a colloquialism to just mean a fun
little
fact.
fact.
Fun little
Yeah.
fact. Not like an essay, just a fun little fact. But in actuality, Shelby pointed out to us that it means a not real fact or a fact that you think is true but actually isn't. Basically, like a misunderstood fact where somebody will present it as this reality. Oh yeah, well this I heard from this person. Blah 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 blah. That would be considered a factoid because it's not based in truth, right? So I said I would say it, which is damn it, Shelby. So every time now that I tell you about a factoid, because I don't think it's going to leave my brain for a long time, right? It's one of those weird things where I've been saying it for so long and being like, little factoid, and then I'm going to catch myself saying it. I'm going to go, damn it, Shelby. So Shelby, if you're out there, we appreciate you.
Yeah, and Shelby's been sending lots of good feedback too. We've gotten a couple emails from Shelby recently, and it's been good.
It has been. So yeah, appreciate your support both on Patreon and as a listener, giving us
thank you
little bits of facts and not factoids, unless this would be the amazing one is that if I actually go and research it further and it's like, no, she's wrong, factoid actually does mean a short fun fact, then flip it and reverse it, the factoid is now a factoid, if that makes sense. Because anyway,
no, full circle.
But I don't believe that that's true. I'm sure that it is accurate. But anyway, I just thought that was a cool one. And we always like to say thanks to everybody who becomes a supporter as well. So yeah, do we have anything? I mean, honestly, this feels like it might be a slightly shorter than normal episode of Office Hours because I don't think we have anything else super huge to cover. But
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that was it. I weird. Either we didn't do anything wrong or no one told us. So,
yeah. Well, hey, either way, all good. But I will say once again, we said this, and again, for anybody that's newer to the show, at the end of every one of the series that we complete. So when I finish a series, Akiva will tell us at the very end of the episode who he's covering next, and then vice versa. Whenever he's done, I say who I'm doing next. So we did talk about it at the end of Frida Kahlo Part 5, because we only did 5 for Frida, right? Right? Or
yes.
We do 6. Okay.
No, we did 6 parts.
We did 6 parts. Okay. Then my brain is getting...
My brain is already deleting. It's really crazy, too. We've talked about this before. As soon as the season's over, it all leaves my mind completely.
Well, it's funny because it leaves my mind, and then I'll start talking about it again, and it comes back.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Where like I've forgotten a ton about Mark Twain, and then I'll talk about Mark Twain and be like, oh yeah, actually, no. This happened and this happened. And then he was part of this and he did this. And it's like, I can start to rattle off all the cool things that he did.
Yeah.
But at the end of the last episode, Frida Kahlo Part 6, not 5, we did announce who we're doing next. So I'll tee it up one more time to give everybody a little bit of detailed, juicy bits. So we're doing a woman named Wu Zhao, also known Wu Zhao. And I'm trying really hard with my Chinese pronunciations because 1, it's a very difficult language. 2, there are many different dialects. 3, there's what's called the romanization process of Chinese translations. So a lot of people will say Wu Chao, and that's what's considered a romanization, to my knowledge, of her actual name. And her real name was actually pronounced Zhao, Z-H-A-O. So there's a lot of these weird things that I'm having to distill and figure out when it comes to the Chinese language. Undoubtedly, anybody who actually speaks Chinese or is from China will listen to me and go, this guy is an utter fool. I know it, but I'm trying my best. Regardless, the woman that we're doing, Wu Zhao, was the only female emperor in the history of China, even to this day. So she was a ruler in the late 7th century and into the very beginning of the 8th century. Utterly fascinating character, but I will give everybody the warning that she is going to be more along the lines of a Pancho Villa, in that we're not going to be finding a true hero, but I think it's really, really difficult in the medieval to ancient world to find true heroes.
Yeah.
There weren't many, man. And even the ones that we were like, no, they were really good. Even when you look into their life deeper, you're going to be like, but they believed in child abuse. Like,
yep.
There's always going to be this
every time, dude.
That is just going to be like, good Lord, I thought this person was really
it's
cool.
what Max said when he was on the channel, which is, history is a foreign country, or history is a foreign land, right? Where it's like, we're not going to find our morals and values.
No.
anywhere if you go far back enough.
And especially not in medieval China.
No.
But that being said, it's utterly fascinating. I'm sure, like many of you, when I think I was in the 7th grade, because I'm thinking back to my social studies teacher, Mr. Luce, and I remember Mr. Luce very specifically talking about like the Ming Dynasty and the Sui Dynasty and all this kind of stuff, and me just going, this is utterly boring.
Yes.
And now I'm getting into it now and being like, well, yeah, it's because you left out all the good stuff, man. All the political intrigue, all of the stories of battles, and I mean,
insane levels of power and population and civic building and unrest and chaos. I mean, it's
and brutality. I'll just be honest.
And brutality.
But that is the medieval world, man. Anywhere you go in the world, you're gonna find brutality. I was actually Akiva, you know this. I was really struggling on who this next series was going to be because I had certain criteria I wanted to hit. I wanted to do a woman because I hadn't done a woman since Marilyn Monroe. I wanted to go out of my comfort zone, both in terms of culture and timeline. For any of our longtime listeners, again, you've probably noticed most of the time I've stuck to like Age of Enlightenment into the 1800s, occasionally dabbling into the 1900s kind of thing. That's been sort of that's my most fascinating time for me personally. So I was like, I really want to get out of that. I want to get into something I'm not familiar with at all. And I was looking at this woman named Njinga of Angola. And boy, oh boy, though many still see her as a hero, it's like you and Akiva, you and I, we've talked about this whole thing where at one point I said, what if you did Che Guevara? And you were like, no, we're not doing Che. And I was like, why? And you were like, because the college kids don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I was like, there is so much nuance with Che Guevara. Like, man, like you ask social studies, people what they think about Che Guevara, they might have a very positive opinion about certain things. But if you ask any person who came in here on a raft in the 80s what they think about Che Guevara, and they'll have a very different opinion.
Yes. And that was what this woman, Njinga of Angola, was like. It was like, man, you did some cool stuff and you did, fight against Portuguese invasion. But man, some of the other stuff she got involved in was just like, I don't know, dude. This is
Y'all should look it up, man.
Pretty bad. Some of the worst stuff I've heard a human be a part of.
Yeah, man.
Ever.
She puts the phrase baby oil to a very different.
Oh, you're so gross, dude. You're so bad.
It's a very different meaning. Man, that's so disgusting.
Anyhow,
I've never heard anything like that.
No, I know. It's real bad. So anyways, this woman, Wu Zhao, fascinating character, was, again, the only emperor in the history of China. And yes, there's going to be a lot of brutality, but there's also going to be what I would encourage everybody to think about as we go into the series is her behavior for the most part was de facto standard for all political people in power at the time. So her behavior was really nowhere outside of the norm of what men would be doing in terms of brutality, even just to like get a higher seat in the government, right? 5th rank.
They're like, I would kill all of my brothers for a slightly bigger plaque.
Correct. So Wu Zhao basically was like, well, if this is your playbook, I'll use every tool that I know because my options are basically resign myself to the life of an utterly dispensable woman.
Object.
And I say that very specifically because in medieval China, women and children were truly dispensable. That is how men saw them. It was like, oh, you're taking up too much space.
And get another one.
Yep, we're going to chuck you in the river with rocks tied to you. Like, truly brutal treatment. So her attitude was basically like, well, these are my options. Be brutalized or become more brutal in the pursuit of not being forgotten in history. And it is very cool. And I think there is something personally that I would say is like metal feminist You know what I mean?
It's like my sister says, she's like, I support women's rights, but I also support women's wrongs. You know? Like,
that's pretty funny. Yeah, and we're going to see plenty of wrong in Wu Zhao's life, but we're also going to see some really cool stuff as well. Just how she navigated everything. And then also just the world of 7th century China is amazing.
I'm so pumped. I'm the thing that I'm most stoked for, truly, is the world building. It is a world that I have not explored personally. Like, I can imagine myself in ancient Rome. I can imagine myself in Mesopotamia, the Middle East, Renaissance Italy. But like I said, like, ancient to medieval China is completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
It's a history that I've always been super fascinated with. I remember when I even like, obviously not the same country, but even when I went to Japan and was going to like Buddhist temples there, I was like, this iconography, just like the most basic symbols that people that are part of this culture would just know firsthand, just looking at it, is like completely means nothing to me. Yeah. You know? So I'm really fascinated to like get into the world of what medieval to ancient China is.
Well, you're in luck, because not only will I, do my best, and obviously this is a very deep culture and there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot that I had to omit just for the sake of time. So no means will this be a thorough investigation into all things in the world of medieval China in the 7th century.
No.
But in the very first episode, because it's about Wu Zhao as a young girl, obviously she was at a point in her life where nobody cared, right? It was just, there's no reason to write about this person. People didn't get biographies unless they were in the royal court. So we know bits and pieces, but we don't know a huge, strong biography of what happened. We have a good idea, but a huge part of episode 1 is all going to be just world building and kind of giving you a sense of what China was like at that time, both politically and socially. We're going to get a lot into how people just were. And then we're also, there's a couple episodes that are going to be stronger in this theme than others, but like, buckle up everybody, because we're getting horny real quick in this episode, in this whole series, because it's a huge, and I know that sounds weird, but it actually is a huge part of the story, because Wu Zhao was a concubine. She was originally brought into the royal court as a concubine. And yes, this woman who started out as a concubine became the emperor of China. That is actually radical, insane. Dude. And how that happens, again, it's like, this woman was a true genius. What type of genius? Evil or good? Probably somewhere in the middle. But man, it's crazy. The maneuvering and the patience that she had to be like, not yet. We'll do this. Cool. Oh, I'm going to sit here and keep going. Like, it's this constant.
Slightly pushing a boulder towards, the target, as opposed to just trying to hurl rocks at it.
But dude, it's really fascinating, and I think it's going to be really entertaining. And I also think it's going to be a really nice, fun, I hate to say, breather between a couple of heavy series that we've done in the past, where Mark Twain was this, he was fun, obviously, and had a lot of laughs and everything. But it was this sort of like,
he's a writer. He's the American Shakespeare. Yeah.
Right. And then Frida, a little bit of a bummer, funny. Could be a little bit of a bummer, was, making paintings for people that are like, here's your deceased daughter. Like, good Lord, girl. So this is going to be. I drew her
as I remembered her on the sidewalk.
Yeah. This one is going to be a little bit more rootin' tootin', a little bit more fun. Again, can be brutal at times, so do buckle up for that. But there's going to be a lot of, I don't know. I've found this entire story to be massively entertaining.
Intrigue, so. Yeah. No, I'm totally down, dude.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good time.
I'm pumped.
Me too. I'm really excited to honestly share it, especially because this is, like I said, it's so outside of anything that I've done before and so far back in time that, like, I don't know. It's just been fascinating. But what I will say too, last kind of piece on it, is that one of the things that I took away from this that I truly did not understand, I think most people who like history have a sense that, like, oh man, the Chinese did everything. They invented everything. They've been doing stuff for longer than we have, blah, 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 blah. But what I didn't really realize was that all of that is true, but they also kept notes on everyone and everything.
Yeah,
so it's
man.
not just like, oh yeah, they did a lot of things. It was like they wrote everything down. So we have a lot of actual quotes from Wu Zhao.
Which we've talked about this before, but that's always the hardest part. It's like if I wanted to do Alexander the Great, I'd have to be taking somebody's word for it. Three people down the line. Versus, Chinese history is like, today at 9:00, she went and had breakfast.
Yes. And
she had 2 eggs, soybeans.
to give you, and this is, I'm going to talk about this in one of the episodes as well, but to give you like an idea of just how meticulous they could be, the emperor had generally between 3,000 and 5,000 concubines at his disposal.
No, that's not true.
It's true. And
oh God.
And sorry, because this is a little bit every single one that he would sleep with, there was a woman there who was his, like, one of his advisors, who literally took notes on the sex that they were having, down to how many thrusts the emperor would have to do to get to completion. That is how meticulous the Chinese were. Yes, dude.
What the fuck?
I know.
What the
Trust
fuck?
me. I was reading this going like, Jesus, dude.
God. Get a hobby.
But it was
Go
all,
outside.
and again, we'll get into it, but it was all for the purposes of like, one, telling the concubines what they could be doing better next time, but also to tell the emperor what he could be doing better next time. So, and we'll get into this too, there's a reason for it as well. It's wild.
Man.
I'm telling you, it's wild
that is
stuff.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Also, could you leave, please? Stop counting. Are these public notes too? Because that could be very embarrassing.
Yeah, dude. I mean, again, we'll get into all of this because there's so much.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of, oh God, I was going to use the word juice. Don't want to use that word. There's a lot of meat on the bone on this. Well,
major pause. Just there's a lot of fun to be had.
Even now, retrospectively, I'm like, meat on the bone, maybe not the
That's
best phrase to use.
There's a lot of icing on this cake.
There's a lot of information.
There's a lot of sex, guys. There's just a lot of fucking.
There's a lot of sex. And it is isolated to pretty much the first 2 or 3 episodes, and there's like sprinkles of it here and there or whatever. But it is, again, for the story of a concubine that becomes the emperor of China, I can't just completely skip over it. I will say I'm limiting it because there's even stuff that I was reading through going like, good Lord, I don't really want to be reading this. It's just sort of gross.
Yeah.
But I am going to give a lot of I think fun information. And I think you and I are going to be laughing a good bit because it's good. It's good stuff. So,
dude, wild. I'm pumped, man. How many episodes do you think this one's going to be?
Almost definitely 5. I finished with episode 4, and now it's at this point where I'm like, I think that if I did the 6 episodes, it'd be dragging it out. 5, I think it'll be like,
keep it tight, yeah.
Nice and tight, yeah. Like, we can get through it, kind of a thing. Episode 5 might be a little bit longer than normal, like it might be an hour and 45 minutes, sort of a thing, rather than an hour and 20, hour and 30, which is usually what we'll do. Sometimes even an hour and 15. So. But yeah, just for the sake of not having to stretch it out too much, kind of a thing, I'm thinking it'll be 5 episodes that I can wrap it up. So
hell yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. But I guess that's pretty much it. Did you want to give any type of metal update or?
Yeah, I mean, so if you guys are in Colorado, if you're in Denver and you want to learn how to make one of your very own knives, you can come to Hardy and Fuller, which is where I teach here in Denver. I teach beginner classes all the way up to some more advanced stuff where we're making Damascus or even making your own chef knives, which are a little bit more complicated, a little bit more finicky. So like I said, if you want to hammer some steel, come meet me. We can talk about the biographers during lunch. Go to Hardy and Fuller. If you want to buy a knife for me specifically, check out metalworkbymiola.com. And if you use the code biographers at checkout, you're going to get 10% off your order. I got a couple things still for sale there. I'm going to be going to some shows later on this summer, so we'll see how long those last. But once again, check out Biographers, and you'll get 10% off your order.
Sweet. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Do remember, like always, a couple of little last minute announcements, not really announcements, but just things to go over. If anybody is enjoying the show, if you've liked what we've done here, even on the YouTubes, you can support us by. I'm looking at myself in the camera and it's really distracting me.
Yeah, that's I made words. Because I'm like, I can see you now. I know what you're doing. Get off the toilet. You're like, that's not good for your prostate. That's not good for you.
It's true. He's right. Also, if you use a squatty potty, get off that sucker quicker than you think, because things can happen to your butt. Anyways.
Yeah. We shouldn't be recording ourselves. This is bad.
Well, if you like those types of jokes, in addition to all the other crap that we just talked about today, please support us on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/thebiographers. We've been seeing a nice little uptick of friends and folks that like the show and want to give us a couple of bucks to keep doing what we're doing. If you feel like giving us any type of positive review anywhere, either here on YouTube, which is going to be probably a harder sell, but yeah, if you feel like, do I have to say like and subscribe, Akiva?
Yeah. I think if you like this, if you like the channel, like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, for those of you who are on all the other streaming platforms, we would love to hear your comments or reviews. So,
man, I don't know if I can do it. I mean,
see, we're from the generation where like we would leave hate comments on YouTubers for saying it because we were like, you're such a sellout, versus now everyone is like, this one's brought to you by NordVPN.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know.
Do you remember that? That's because YouTube paid good ad money back in the day.
I do. And I don't know. The amount of people that I've seen that like, make nonsense comments or content rather, and are like,
yes,
hey, but if you like the fact that I was just talking about nothing for an hour and a half, like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And it's like, I don't like it. But whatever. If you can do it, hey,
smash that like button.
That's my line.
Pound that subscribe.
That is my line.
Like the Emperor of China.
Smash that subscribe button and that like. No, dude, I'm not into it. I don't like it.
Smash it. Smack it. Hit it.
Pull it.
Pop it.
Twist it. Pass it. So, again, positive reviews anywhere that you can. We'd appreciate it. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, here on YouTube, whatever you want to do, we'd appreciate it as well. And then any questions, comments, or corrections, you can shoot us an email at thebiographerspodcast@gmail.com. Like I said, we've been seeing a nice amount of people that are emailing us. I think in the middle of us recording, I actually just saw somebody else sent us another something or other. I don't really even know what it is. So again, if anybody has any questions, comments, corrections, you can send us an email at thebiographerspodcast@gmail.com. And do remember, like always, ignorance is not stupidity. It is the absence of knowledge. And I do hope you all learned something, or at least a little bit, today.
See ya.
You've been listening to The Biographers. For more information, please visit thebiographerspodcast.com.